Let's talk about worthiness and what happens when you're confronted with violence. I'm Perry Gruber, the Enlightenment Guy. For over a decade, I've helped people master their mindsets so they can create lives they love and get results without the burnout or hustle. Welcome to Worthiness Wednesdays, where I speak unscripted about real client breakthroughs from the past week and show you what's possible when you stop doubting your value. And this week, I'm going to be talking a lot about an article that I posted on my blog, and I'll post the link in the comments section, about a client who had an experience a couple of months ago. So we're not going to be talking about an experience that happened in the past week, but this is such a profound experience this client had that I want to highlight it here on the YouTube channel. And then if you're wanting to find out more about the details, you can go and read the blog post that I wrote about it. So this client, what an amazing experience he had. He's an advanced practitioner. And as with all of my clients, he's moving through the ascension spiral, which means he's constantly revisiting belief momentum on subjects that he considers important to his life. You could call them core value subjects. And as he moves through his ascension spiral, he is revisiting some of the subjects that are important into his life. And so one of those subjects is what society would call misogyny. So he has had a really, really negative view of women and relationships with women. And this is stemming from an experience that he had long ago when he was a child with his brother. He had a sexual experience. It was exploration. If you go on the internet and you look, sexual exploration between siblings is very common, but this client had interpreted that experience quite negatively, and so did his brother. And so as he moved through his young life into adulthood, he told more and more negative stories about that experience until he was exuding or emanating a vibration of negativity about himself. Now, when you're moving through physical reality, you're constantly emanating vibration. And that vibration emanation is what creates the external reality that you experience, because your external reality is a reflection of your inner state of being. And so this client, let's call him Jeff. This client was emanating a very powerful negative vibration about himself, which was causing him to attract experiences that reflected that self-loathing. One of the ways that self-loathing showed up in his physical reality is every time he tried to have a relationship with a woman, the woman would reject or scorn him or ignore him, just not want to be interested in him. And the more these kinds of experiences happened in his life, the more he started to really have negative stories, negative beliefs about women in general, and specifically about the women he was trying to date. He never actually had a date, but he would try and they would always reject him. So over time, and this is an interesting story because this is where incels come from. When a person, I'm going to take a little departure here because this is important. When a person develops chronic negative momentum on any subject, not only does their physical reality reflect that chronic negative momentum back to them, it also brings them people who are a match to that emanation. And so the incel phenomena is a demonstration of this. So my client, I think we're calling him Kevin, I don't remember, let's say Kevin. He was one of these kinds of people. He was emanating a very strong momentum of self-loathing. And that was the result of this sexual experience he had with his brother, but it was compounded by subsequent experiences with women where they would reject him. And so not only was he loathing himself, he was increasingly loathing women in general, and specifically the women he was trying to date. And so it's not a surprise that over time, the self-loathing and the hatred of women got so strong, he rendezvoused with these, I don't know what they're called in the world, but they're like seminars that you can go to where men can go to learn how to get women into the bed, get them out of their clothes and get them into the bed and have sex with them. These kinds of seminars. And so he was paying tens of thousands of dollars going to these seminars. And of course, these seminars were not working because no seminar can override momentum, the belief momentum, the vibrational power, the power of your beliefs. No seminar, no words can overcome that momentum. You have to address the emanation that's creating the physical reality that you're experiencing if you want that physical reality to change. So this guy, Kevin, was spending tens of thousands of dollars going to these seminars. And of course, because of his emanation, the advice he was getting was not working. And so he was doubling down on his negative stories about women and negative stories about himself. So flash forward to a couple months ago, he has been moving through this practice, the positively focused practice framework that I offer my clients. And he started to identify this very, very negative momentum that had expanded not only beyond himself to women, but also to humanity in general. So in other words, not only did he have self-loathing, he also had misogyny going on within him as a vibration emanation. And he also had, what's that word? Misanthropy. He was a misanthrope. So that's someone who generally dislikes humanity. So he was moving through the positively focused practice, and he's struggling with it because he has such powerful negative momentum that is constantly showing him through his physical reality how strong that momentum is, and therefore he's running into experiences in his physical reality that's reflecting that powerful negative momentum back to him. And this is a positive thing. So this is the thing, when you're having an experience that you would ordinarily consider negative, that negative experience is actually positive, because that experience, the negative experience, is reflecting back to you information you want to know about what's going on inside of you that's creating the external experience. And if you recognize that that's what's happening and you do something about the internal experience, your external experience will then reflect that improvement that you've made on the interior. And so that's what this client was doing. And of course, and I think I've said this in a previous Worthiness Wednesday, when you're wanting to create a reality that is different than the reality you have. So let's say you've decided to focus on this future probable reality that's positive, and you're wanting to get away from your current reality, which you consider to be negative. When you focus over here, your past present momentum is going to set your past present momentum. So it's the present, but it's also the past because it's manifested already. Your past present momentum is going to say, hey, what about me? And if you turn your attention there, then your desire for improvement is going to collapse, and you're going to align then with your past present momentum and then amplify more of that. So that's what this client was becoming aware of as he moved through these negative experiences in his physical reality, reflecting the negative state of being in his interior reality. And he decided that he was going to focus on the present, the moment of becoming, the reality that he's wanting to see, the probable future reality that reflects improvement in his life experience rather than amplifying his past present momentum. Now, this is where this story gets so mind-blowing. It's so good. So he's focusing on his probable future reality that shows improvement. And like I said, he has a present past momentum that's trying to get his attention. Here's what that looked like in his physical life. So one evening, he decided to go out for a walk. And he was out at night in Texas in the downtown scene where all these bars are. And he walked into this one particular bar. And when he sidled up to the bar itself, he cut himself on his finger. And it started to bleed. And the bartender, who was a female, he called the bartender over and asked her if she had a Band-Aid. He showed her the bleeding finger and asked if she had a Band-Aid. And the woman, according to my client, rolled her eyes and tried to find him a Band-Aid. She didn't have a Band-Aid. And so he decided instead he was going to go into the bathroom to clean the cut. Now, he told me he was already annoyed that the woman, in his words, dismissed the fact that he had cut his finger. He was expecting her to show a little more compassion and concern, seeing that she was an employee of the bar and he had cut his finger inside the bar. But what he didn't realize at the moment, that the way that the bartender, the female, was responding to him was a reflection of both his misanthropy and his misogyny. And so he was creating a version of the bartender who was matching his negative momentum, his negative vibration on the subject of women and people. So he went into the bathroom and he washed the cut, and I'm sure that when he was washing the cut, he felt relief over the experience of cutting his finger and having the reaction from the bartender that he had, which is interesting. So the relief created a new vibrational emanation, and that vibrational emanation matched him with an alternate reality. So when he walked out of the bathroom, instead of rendezvousing with the woman who had dismissed his cut finger, what happened instead was, when he walked up to the bar, the woman, while he was in the bathroom, had found a tube of Neosporin, and she offered him the Neosporin. Now, when he came back out of the bathroom, having had relief and emanated that relief, and therefore rendezvoused with that new version of the bartender, when he came out of the bathroom and saw the bartender, before he rendezvoused with that version who found the Neosporin, his attention placed on the bartender, the female, collapsed him back into the previous momentum. And as a result of that, when he got up to the bar and the woman offered the Neosporin, my client was back into the original momentum he had when he felt that she dismissed her. So he did not recognize, this is so crazy, he did not recognize that she would, while he was in the bathroom, she was looking for something to soothe his cut, this Neosporin. So when she offered the Neosporin, he took the bottle and then just kind of threw it on the ground, or on the bar, and then walked out of the place. He did not recognize that tremendous shift, that alternate reality he had moved to, where the bartender was reflecting back to him care and concern. Instead, he had collapsed back into this momentum, the present, past momentum of his beliefs about women and about people. So now, this gets better, or worse, however you want to look at it. So he walks out of the bar, and he's walking down the street a little further, and he decides to sidle up to this outdoor space. And so he sits down at this table, and while he's there, he's just minding his own business, and this large African-American man, my client notices this large African-American man walking down the street. And as the man is approaching where my client is sitting, the man suddenly turns to my client and starts screaming obscenities at my client. Seemingly out of nowhere, this happens. And the way my client describes it is that this guy got right up in my client's face and was just blowing his top. My client had an amazing epiphany in that moment. He recognized in that moment, as this African-American guy, who my client describes was much larger and capable in a fight than my client was, my client recognized, he got it. He finally got it. This was the moment where he realized that he was at a crossroads. He could choose to collapse into the momentum of his own self-hatred and his misanthropy and his misogyny, which both the bartender and now this African-American imposer was reflecting back to him. He could collapse into that, get defensive, and try to fight this guy, knowing that he was going to lose, because according to my client, this guy was much larger and much more capable than my client in terms of fisticuffs. So he could have collapsed into that. But what he did was remarkable. It was like Jedi mind tricks played on himself. He recognized that this person, this African-American man who was screaming in his face, like right up to his face, was an angel. And instead of collapsing into that violent experience, instead, he just let it be. He let the guy say what he had to say and did not escalate it. He just sat there and took it. And finally, the guy stopped yelling and he started walking away. Hey there, YouTube viewers. I have to make an announcement here in the middle of this story because I was so excited to tell the story to you guys that I totally forgot, passed over the main part of this wonderful story with my client Jeff/Kevin. What happened was, after the guy was up in his face, this is just going to take a moment and then I'll get back to the original theme of the story. We'll rejoin in just a second. So after the African-American guy approached my client and got in his face, my client was bewildered, and then the African-American guy backed away from him and slapped my client right across the face. He slapped him so hard, my client's glasses went flying, and everyone in the area was shocked that this had happened. So I just needed to add that part because it's a very important aspect. Obviously, I mean, the title of this Worthiness Wednesday is When Angels Get Violent, and I hadn't mentioned the violence. So there you go. All right, back to the original programming. Then, now remember, when you're trying to seek improvement, your old reality is going to call your attention. And that's what happened here for just a moment. My client collapsed again, just like he did when he came out of the bathroom. This time when the guy walked away, his old momentum resurfaced, and he said to the guy as he was walking away, something like, "I didn't even do anything to you. That was uncalled for," or something like that. At that moment, the black man turned back around, came back up into his face and said, "Say one more word, motherfucker," like he was gonna beat my client's ass. And at that moment, again, my client realized that this was yet another opportunity to face the fact that he was creating a reality, co-creating, you could say, with this African-American man that was reflecting back to him all of the dominant negative momentum that was inside of him. This is what my client realized. And in realizing this, he just calmed himself down and let the situation dissipate. And then the black man, when he saw that my client was just gonna chill, he said something like, "Yeah, I thought so," or something like that, and then walked away. So this was a fabulous demonstration on the part of my advanced client on how your vibration creates every experience that you experience, even the violent ones. There's no such thing as a victim. Everybody is creating their reality, and the reality that they're creating is serving them, no matter how positive or negative you might think it is. It's always reflecting back to us what's going on inside of us. Why? So that we can expand, so that we can move up that spiral, that ascending spiral of expansion. And so if you want to read more, if you want to know more about this experience my client had, like I said, I'm going to post the link to the blog post that published this past week, about the details. It is such a great story, and my client did such a great job of managing his awareness, being present to his manifestation, and benefiting from that manifestation. Just a fantastic demonstration of how the positively focused practice works. All right, the last thing I wanted to share or talk about was something that someone commented on my last Worthiness Wednesday video. Sky Fountain Power had mentioned in responding to my Worthiness Wednesday post from this past week that so I was in that video, I was talking about the basket of evidence that is the indication of your worthiness, and that the importance of recognizing, amplifying, and remembering the manifestations that occur in your life, because those manifestations comprise a basket of evidence proving to you that the universe is constantly giving you everything that you're wanting. But if you don't remember these things, then you don't end up in the space that the positively focused framework is all about, which is realizing that you're worthy. And it is the state of worthiness from which you perceive a brand new reality, where the reality that you are experiencing is matching everything you are wanting to experience, including, just like with the client I was talking about a minute ago, including the evidence in your physical reality showing you what's going on inside, so that you can do something about what's going on inside, and therefore experience the improvement in your physical reality. So this basket of evidence is really important. And Sky Fountain Power said, Basket of evidence. That's interesting. I haven't thought about it that way. Yeah, this is the thing about this process of expansion, the expansionary experience that every human being is having, and that is that it is constantly new. It is constantly new. And so there's always going to be more that you haven't thought about. Why? Because we're constantly expanding into new. And with every new expansion, there's always more than we knew before. This is the benefit of one of the beneficial aspects of being eternal, is that there's always more to expand into, which means there's always going to be more to discover, including more ways to describe the delicious state of expansion. And so that's where I'm coming from with this channel refresh, is I'm wanting to offer to the world at large what I offer my paying clients, which is an opportunity to see the world anew, an opportunity to experience the worthiness that is inherent in all of us. Because I know, and my clients are learning, that the more worthy you feel, this isn't something you can manufacture, this isn't something you can fake. Worthiness has to be felt as natural as breathing. And that's what happens when you build this basket of evidence. You cannot help but feel worthy when you have a basket full of evidence showing you that the universe is showering you with everything you want, including things you think you don't want, which are good for you because they're allowing you to see what's going on inside of you as a reflection, so you can clean that up and get more of what you want. You see? It's so awesome. Life is so awesome. You guys, there's nothing better than physical life experience because of everything I just shared, everything my clients are experiencing, everything I'm experiencing, everything you're experiencing. It's been a great week this week. I hope you're having a great week. Thank you for making the comment that you made, Sky Fountain Power. Awesome comment. You know, in this age of AI that's coming, more than ever, we're going to need to be tuned in to our worthiness, where our worthiness actually comes from, because AI is going to eliminate a lot of the things that people have assigned their worthiness to, their value, their self-worth. And so now more than ever is the time to begin to build this basket of evidence so that you can feel the natural worthiness and therefore have your life experience reflect that. So AI is coming, but it can't match your value. No way. You are way more valuable, and you're valuable for what you are, not for what you do. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. See you in the comments, and I'll see you next week.